Hello and welcome back to Oslo. Behind me is the understated Norges Bank, which has managed to maintain high interest rates compared to other major central banks. The Norwegian Kronor continues to look relatively attractive compared to other G10 majors, which are locked in an ugly contest. Now, Erica Blomgren from SEB is a familiar voice on Dugeskopy TV, and I've been to meet her in person. So we still have two central bank meetings this year, Riksbank and Norges Bank. Are you expecting any action there?
Not from Norges Bank. I think that will be pretty much repeating the message from the October monetary policy report. Unfortunately, we have to wait until March for any new signals. In terms of Riksbank, I think it will be highly interesting. We are forecasting a rate cut. The rate path from last meeting showed that it's a slight possibility for the Riksbank to cut. So it's, I think the growth data, the GDP numbers we will have out from Sweden on Friday will be very important in terms of ahead of that meeting. But we are looking forward. Market is not fully pricing in a rate cut, so we could see some action for the krona.
Yeah, the Swedish macro data is coming in softer and softer, isn't it? How is that going to react? Because obviously the Swedish economy is still relatively bullish when you compare it to somewhere like the Eurozone, but at the same time it's having its own domestic problems.
Domestic problem, yes, in terms of house prices, I would say, and highly debted house and private sector, but otherwise in terms of looking at GDP growth, it's mostly affected by what's going on in the Eurozone. Obviously it's a small open economy, highly leveraged to the Eurozone in terms of exports, so that's really the effect that we're seeing, but the private sector actually looks rather well and is keeping growth steady. So we do see growth managed to stay just above zero for the third quarter, but obviously that's been affected and reflecting in our expectations for the Riksbank.
What about the Norges Bank? It has a very different scenario. Many would say that it needs to hike rates because the property sector is just getting stronger and stronger.
Yes, that's very true, and it is a problem, not only due to the property sector, but looking at I mean, you're talking about trend growth in Norway for this year and the coming 2 years, and a very strong growth capacity is basically full. So with a close output gap, it should definitely be reflected that I think everyone can agree on that rates in Norway is too low. But the central bank has been quite clear in the message that it's still targeting or more focusing on the krona and the monetary policy that central banks abroad are performing.
Yeah, but surely it's going to have to hike rates next year, and that will just give the krona a huge bump, won't it?
Yes, that is in our forecast, and what's interesting here is that the market is actually going more for, I mean, so far Norges Bank has said yes, we're going to hike rates, and they just defer the rate hikes for, all the time. So the market is not discounting anything here, but only a first rate hike in summer 2014. So expectations are very low. We think that eventually Norges Bank will have to start hike rates, and that the rate hike will come around summer next year, which is also in the rate path. So that will definitely give a boost for the currency in the second quarter next year.
So what about some forecasts? How much further can we expect the Norwegian krona to climb?
I think we still have a pretty good upside in the krona, and not only due to Norges Bank start hiking rates, but so far it's mainly been relatively strong growth and a strong fiscal position that's been the main driver. And that's expected to continue. So looking into at least next summer, we do see Euro NOK heading down towards 7.10 or 7, and a little smaller move in dollar NOK, but mainly towards or against the euro, we're going to see pretty good performance.
What about the Swedish krona?
The Swedish krona is also one of our favorite currencies going into 2013. We do see some near-term weakness still due to some weak numbers numbers or economic data numbers. But in 2013, our basic scenario is that risk appetite is going to improve and leading indicators should start climbing towards year end. And that is an environment that traditionally has been very positive for the currency. So even though we have actually 2 rate cuts expected by the Riksbank, that is almost priced in by markets. It should not be a big threat towards further currency strengthening. So we are targeting Euro Stocky down below 850 again next summer.
So generally speaking, what do you think is going to be the big themes of 2013? Would it just be a repeat of 2012?
Hopefully the situation is going to be a bit more stable in the Eurozone. I think it's more a more clear pattern of recovery in global growth that we're looking for, and that should be positive, improving risk appetite. But the main theme in terms of in the FX market, with what we're seeing right now, low activity, we unfortunately think is going to remain. And then also the biggest theme, of course, is with the G4 countries still struggling with low growth and very stimulative monetary policy. That means that those currencies will still be less favored. So I think Scandinavian assets are still going to see large inflows, which is of course supporting our currencies.
Erica Blomgren speaking to me there from the offices of SEB, and I'll also be speaking to their Chief Commodities Analyst, but for now, goodbye.